Plant protein and muscle after 60. Here is something nobody warned you about. Right now, while you are reading this, your muscles are shrinking. Not because you are lazy, not because you are unhealthy, but because after the age of 60, the human body enters a biological war against its own muscle tissue, and most people are losing that war without even knowing it is happening. The condition is called sarcopenia, and it is the silent thief that steals your strength, your independence, and your quality of life 1 pound of muscle at a time. But here is what makes this truly maddening. You have probably been given completely wrong advice about how to fight it. Someone told you the answer was simple. Eat meat at every meal. Chicken breast, steak, eggs, protein shakes, as if the plant kingdom had nothing to offer but salads and side dishes. That advice is not just incomplete. It is costing you muscle every single day. Here is the truth that the mainstream nutrition world has been slow to accept. There are plant foods sitting in your grocery store right now. Foods you can buy for $1 or $2 that contain more protein per calorie than beef, more than chicken, more than pork. And they do not just bring protein to the table. They bring an entire biological support system that animal proteins simply cannot match. Anti-inflammatory compounds that calm the cellular signals destroying your muscles from the inside. Powerful antioxidants that protect the tiny energy factories inside your muscle cells. Fiber that feeds the gut bacteria, producing chemicals that literally tell your muscles to grow. Meat gives you protein. These plants give you protein, plus every tool your aging body needs to actually use that protein. My name is Dr. Thomas Reed, and I am about to walk you through the 10 most powerful plant protein sources for fighting sarcopenia after 60. By the time we reach number 1, you will understand more about plant protein and muscle biology than most trainers, most dietitians, and most doctors ever will. We start at number 10 with the most underestimated food in the entire plant kingdom. The humble green pea. Most people look at green peas and think of them as a side dish, a filler, something you toss into a soup to add color. But 1 cup of cooked green peas delivers about 8.5 grams of protein and only 134 calories. Now here is the part that stops people cold. That same number of calories from ground beef gives you roughly the same amount of protein. Calorie for calorie, green peas match beef for protein density. But the story does not end there, because pea protein contains something that beef cannot offer. It is rich in an amino acid called arginine, which your body converts into nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the compound that opens up your blood vessels, and for your muscles, this is everything. After 60, your blood vessels naturally stiffen and produce less nitric oxide on their own. The result is that even when you eat plenty of protein, fewer amino acids actually make it through the narrowed vessels and into your muscle tissue. The arginine in green peas helps reverse this. More nitric oxide means wider vessels, better blood flow, and more of those muscle-building amino acids arriving exactly where they are needed. A study published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition found that pea protein produced gains in muscle thickness and strength that were directly comparable to whey protein when combined with resistance training. Not slightly inferior, not close. Comparable. And green peas also contain iron, zinc, and B vitamins that power the metabolic processes behind protein synthesis. The fiber feeds gut bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids with powerful anti-inflammatory effects, reducing the chronic internal inflammation that accelerates muscle breakdown after 60. 1 to 2 cups of green peas daily, added to soups, stir-fries, or eaten as a simple side, gives you a solid protein foundation along with vascular support that aging muscles desperately need but almost never get from the typical Western diet. Number 9 is edamame, and it earns this spot by being one of the most complete plant protein sources in existence. 1 cup of shelled edamame delivers approximately 18 grams of protein in just under 200 calories. That is comparable to a 3-ounce serving of chicken breast on a calorie-adjusted basis. But what makes edamame genuinely special is its amino acid profile. Soy protein contains all 9 essential amino acids in proportions that closely match animal protein. It is one of the very few plant foods classified as a complete protein by international nutrition standards. You do not need to combine it with anything else to get the full range of amino acids your muscles require. Edamame is also notably higher in leucine than most other plant proteins, and leucine is the amino acid that functions like a light switch for muscle building. When enough leucine reaches your muscle cells after a meal, it flips on the biological pathway responsible for building new muscle protein. Most plant proteins do not provide enough leucine to flip that switch reliably. Edamame helps close that gap in a meaningful way. But the real power of edamame lies in its isoflavone content, specifically two compounds called genistein and didzane. These isoflavones have been shown in multiple studies to directly inhibit the cellular machinery responsible for breaking down muscle protein. After 60, chronic inflammation activates this breakdown process aggressively, and it accelerates muscle loss faster than most people realize. Genistein essentially puts a brake on that process, slowing the destruction while new muscle is being built. A study published in the journal Nutrients found that older adults who consumed more soy isoflavones had measurably more muscle mass and significantly lower sarcopenia risk than those who consumed less. Edamame also provides omega-3 fatty acids and folate, a B vitamin that reduces homocysteine levels in the blood. Elevated homocysteine is linked directly to reduced muscle function and accelerated muscle loss. 1 to 2 cups of edamame several times a week, steamed and lightly salted as a snack or mixed into grain bowls, delivers complete protein alongside a set of biological advantages that no cut of meat can replicate. Before we go to number 8, you need to understand one concept that will change the way you think about every protein source for the rest of your life. It is called the leucine threshold. Your muscle cells do not respond to protein in a simple, linear way. They respond to a trigger. Specifically, they respond to the concentration of leucine that arrives at the muscle cell after you eat. When that leucine concentration crosses a critical threshold, roughly 2.5 to 3 grams per meal, a master biological pathway switches on, and your muscles begin building new protein. Below that threshold, nothing happens, regardless of how much total protein you consumed. In younger people, this threshold is lower and easy to hit. After 60, the threshold rises because of a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. Your muscle cells become harder to stimulate. They need more leucine to produce the same response. This is why older adults need more protein per meal than younger adults. And it is also why simply eating a small amount of plant protein throughout the day is not enough. You need to reach the threshold at each meal. The good news is that strategic combining of plant proteins makes this entirely achievable, and the foods coming up on this list are designed to help you do exactly that. Number 8 is hemp seeds, and they belong on this list for a reason that goes far beyond their protein content. 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds deliver approximately 10 grams of complete protein with all 9 essential amino acids. That alone is impressive. But what truly earns hemp seeds a place here is a specific fatty acid they contain that almost no other food provides in usable form. Hemp seeds are the only commonly consumed seed that contains preformed gamma-linolenic acid, abbreviated GLA. Most plant foods contain only the precursor to GLA, and after 60, the enzyme your body uses to convert that precursor slows down dramatically. Hemp seeds bypass this bottleneck entirely. GLA is converted directly into a powerful anti-inflammatory molecule called prostaglandin E1, which works inside your muscle tissue to counteract the specific inflammatory signals driving muscle breakdown. The typical Western diet has an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of around 15 to 1, which creates a strongly pro-inflammatory internal environment. Hemp seeds have a ratio of about 3 to 1. 3 tablespoons a day, sprinkled on salads, blended into smoothies, or stirred into oatmeal, begins shifting that ratio in a direction that lets your muscles heal and grow, instead of being steadily dismantled by inflammation. Number 7 is lentils, and if you are not eating them regularly, you are leaving a remarkable amount of muscle-building potential on the table. 1 cup of cooked lentils delivers approximately 18 grams of protein and 230 calories, making them one of the most protein-dense foods available at any price point. A single pound of dried lentils costs $1 to $2 and provides roughly 50 grams of protein across 4 generous servings. But the protein is almost a secondary benefit here, because lentils are one of the richest plant sources of iron on Earth. 1 cup provides about 6.5 milligrams, covering over a third of the daily recommended intake for men. Iron is a core component of myoglobin, the protein that stores oxygen directly inside your muscle cells. When iron is low, myoglobin drops, and your muscles cannot store enough oxygen to function and repair efficiently. After 60, this matters more than ever because stomach acid production declines, making iron harder to absorb from food, and chronic inflammation tends to lock iron into storage forms the body cannot readily access. Eating lentils with a source of vitamin C dramatically boosts absorption and directly addresses one of the most common and overlooked deficiencies affecting muscle health in older adults. Lentils are also one of the top food sources of folate, providing roughly 90% of the daily recommended intake in a single cup. Folate is essential for DNA synthesis, and your muscles cannot grow without it. The satellite cells that sit on the surface of your muscle fibers, the stem cells that allow muscles to grow and repair, must divide and fuse with existing fibers to enable that growth. That division requires DNA replication, and DNA replication requires folate. A study published in the journal Aging Cell found that older adults with adequate folate status had more satellite cells in their muscle tissue and more responsive satellite cells than those with low folate. Beyond that, lentils provide resistant starch that is fermented in the colon into butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid that reduces systemic inflammation and improves insulin sensitivity, both of which create a stronger environment for muscle growth. Red lentils cook in 15 to 20 minutes and dissolve beautifully into soups and sauces. Green and brown lentils hold their shape perfectly in salads. There is almost no simpler or more affordable way to dramatically upgrade your muscle-building nutrition. Number 6 is spirulina, and it might be the most extraordinary food on this entire list. Spirulina is a microscopic blue-green algae, and by dry weight, it is approximately 60 to 70% protein. 1 tablespoon of dried spirulina powder provides 4 grams of complete protein in only 20 calories. On a per-calorie basis, spirulina contains more protein than beef, chicken, fish, and eggs combined, and its digestibility is exceptionally high, around 85 to 90%, because spirulina has a soft cell wall that your digestive enzymes break down with ease. But the reason spirulina ranks this high is a pigment called phycocyanin, the compound responsible for its distinctive blue-green color. Phycocyanin has some of the most powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties of any natural compound ever studied. It inhibits 2 of the primary inflammatory pathways that accelerate muscle breakdown in aging bodies. A study published in the journal Biochemical Pharmacology found that phycocyanin suppressed inflammatory cytokine production, with a potency comparable to pharmaceutical anti-inflammatory drugs in muscle tissue. A separate study in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise found that spirulina supplementation reduced markers of muscle damage following intense exercise and improved exercise endurance. 1 to 2 tablespoons a day blended into a smoothie with banana and berries is the most palatable way to consume it for most people. Start with 1 teaspoon and work your way up as your taste adjusts. Number 5 is tempeh, and it earns its spot by being the most muscle-friendly form of soy protein in existence. A 3-ounce serving of tempeh provides approximately 16 grams of complete protein in 160 calories, matching or exceeding the protein density of most cuts of meat. Tempeh is made from whole soybeans fermented with a specific mold, and that fermentation process is what makes it extraordinary. First, it dramatically increases the digestibility of the protein by partially breaking down protein molecules into shorter chains that your digestive enzymes can process far more efficiently. For someone over 60 whose digestive capacity has naturally declined, this pre-digestion means that more of the protein you eat actually reaches your muscles. Second, fermentation reduces anti-nutritional factors in soybeans, particularly phytic acid and trypsin inhibitors, which normally bind to minerals and block protein digestion. Removing these compounds increases the bioavailability of both the protein and the minerals in every serving. Third, and perhaps most surprisingly, fermentation produces vitamin K2 in its most potent form, MK7, which is not found in any unfermented soy product. This vitamin activates a protein called osteocalcin that not only directs calcium into bone tissue, but also functions as a hormone that improves glucose uptake and fatty acid metabolism in skeletal muscle. A study published in the journal Cell found that animals lacking osteocalcin showed severely impaired exercise capacity that was restored when osteocalcin was administered. Tempeh is currently the best food-based way to support this bone-to-muscle signaling pathway. Pan-fry it after steaming, marinate it for 30 minutes, and it becomes one of the most satisfying and versatile proteins in your kitchen. Number 4 is nutritional yeast, and it might surprise you to find it ranked this high. 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast contain approximately 8 grams of complete protein and only 45 calories. On a per-calorie basis, that makes it one of the most protein-dense foods on the planet, plant or animal. But the reason it sits at number 4 is a single nutrient it provides in a form specifically suited to older adults. Vitamin B12. B12 is essential for DNA synthesis, red blood cell production, and nervous system function. Without it, satellite cell division slows, your muscles cannot repair properly, and anemia reduces oxygen delivery to your muscle tissue. Between 10 and 30% of adults over 60 have some degree of B12 deficiency, primarily because declining stomach acid production reduces their ability to absorb it through normal digestive mechanisms. The B12 in fortified nutritional yeast is absorbed through a completely different mechanism that bypasses this problem entirely, making it one of the most reliable B12 sources for older adults. 2 tablespoons also provide the full spectrum of B vitamins needed for energy production and protein synthesis in muscle cells. Nutritional yeast additionally contains beta-glucans, compounds that modulate the immune system in a way that improves the macrophage-driven muscle repair process that slows with age. After exercise creates microscopic damage in your muscle fibers, macrophages are recruited to clear the debris and trigger rebuilding. Beta-glucans steer those macrophages away from a pro-inflammatory state and toward an active repair state. Sprinkle nutritional yeast on everything: popcorn, soups, mashed potatoes, scrambled eggs. Once you start, you will not stop. Number 3 is pumpkin seeds. 1 ounce. Roughly a small handful provides about 9 grams of protein in 158 calories, but the protein content is almost the footnote here, because pumpkin seeds are one of the richest food sources of both magnesium and zinc, 2 minerals that are chronically deficient in people over 60 and that directly control the muscle-building machinery at its deepest level. Magnesium is a cofactor for over 600 enzymatic reactions in the body, including the enzymes that synthesize protein, produce cellular energy, and regulate muscle contraction. Studies suggest that up to 68% of adults do not meet the daily magnesium requirement. When magnesium is low, your protein synthesis machinery runs at reduced capacity. Eating more protein does not fix this. Only restoring magnesium levels does. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that magnesium intake was independently and significantly associated with both muscle mass and muscle strength in older adults in a dose-dependent relationship. Zinc from pumpkin seeds serves a different but equally critical role. It is required for testosterone production, and after 60, declining zinc levels accelerate the hormonal decline that is one of the primary drivers of sarcopenia. A study published in the journal Nutrition found a direct positive correlation between zinc status and testosterone levels in older men. Pumpkin seeds also provide tryptophan, the precursor to melatonin, which supports the deep sleep during which growth hormone peaks. Better sleep, more growth hormone, more overnight muscle repair. 1 to 2 ounces of raw pumpkin seeds daily is one of the simplest upgrades you can make to your diet. Number 2 is chickpeas, and once you understand why they rank this high, you will never look at hummus the same way again. 1 cup of cooked chickpeas delivers about 15 grams of protein and 270 calories, comparable to 2 eggs. But the real power of chickpeas comes from their fiber, specifically their resistant starch and prebiotic fiber content, which is among the highest of any commonly consumed food. When this fiber reaches your colon, beneficial bacteria ferment it into short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate. Research published in the journal Cell Reports showed that butyrate directly improves muscle protein synthesis by enhancing insulin sensitivity in skeletal muscle and by reducing the inflammatory signals that block the muscle-building pathway. Your gut bacteria are literally sending pro-muscle signals into your bloodstream every time you eat chickpeas. A study in Nature Medicine found that gut microbiome composition was independently associated with lean muscle mass in older adults, even after accounting for diet and exercise. The bacterial species most strongly linked to preserved muscle mass were the exact butyrate producers that chickpea fiber preferentially feeds. Beyond the fiber, chickpeas provide folate for satellite cell division, manganese for mitochondrial protection, iron for muscle oxygen storage, and saponins that suppress the inflammatory pathways driving muscle breakdown. Combine chickpeas with rice or whole grain bread to create a complete amino acid profile that rivals any animal protein for muscle-building potential. And the #1 plant food for building muscle and fighting sarcopenia after 60 is the black bean. This will surprise people. But when you see the full picture, nothing else comes close. 1 cup of cooked black beans provides approximately 15 grams of protein, 15 grams of fiber, and a complete suite of minerals and phytochemicals that target every major mechanism of sarcopenia simultaneously. The protein becomes complete when paired with rice or corn, creating an amino acid profile comparable to animal protein. The resistant starch surpasses even chickpeas in quantity, driving butyrate production that improves insulin sensitivity and reduces inflammation in muscle tissue. The magnesium, approximately 120 milligrams per cup, chips away at the deficiency, silently crippling muscle synthesis in most older adults. The iron supports myoglobin-based oxygen storage in the muscles. The folate provides 64% of the daily requirement, fueling satellite cell division. The potassium buffers the metabolic acidosis that literally dissolves muscle protein in aging bodies. And then there are the anthocyanins, the compounds that separate black beans from every other food on this list. The black skin of the bean is loaded with anthocyanins, the same class of potent antioxidant pigments found in blueberries and tart cherries. These specific compounds have been shown to cross from the bloodstream into skeletal muscle tissue directly, meaning they do not produce a vague whole-body antioxidant effect. They arrive inside the exact cells where the damage is happening. Once there, they protect the mitochondria from the oxidative damage that reduces their energy production capacity, which is one of the primary drivers of the muscle weakness and fatigue that define sarcopenia. A study published in the Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry found that the antioxidant capacity of black beans was comparable to many berries, making them one of the most antioxidant-rich foods in the entire food supply. Blueberries cost $4 to $6 a pint. A can of black beans costs about $1 and delivers a comparable anthocyanin dose alongside 15 grams of protein, 15 grams of fiber, and a full mineral profile. Black bean soup, black bean tacos, black beans and rice, black bean chili, black beans with lime and cilantro. 5 times a week, minimum. This is the single most powerful, most affordable, most complete muscle-building food available to anyone, anywhere, at any income level. Sarcopenia is not your destiny. It is a supply chain problem, and you just got the complete supply chain.